What is 451 Research?
So 451 Research is an international analyst and advisory company. We're headquartered in New York, but we have offices all over the world and a big operation in Europe based in London.
What is your role in the organisation?
So I'm Research Director for Cloud and IT Services at 451 Research, and my particular focus is working with buyers and suppliers around the impact of cloud technology on IT service delivery.
You have a research interest, I believe, in cloud ecosystems. Would you like to explain what that is?
Yeah, sure. So the word ecosystem is a word that's become quite hackneyed in the tech industry. It's used a lot. And I think it's used typically to provide a shorthand for a partnership strategy. But actually, it means something quite specific when we're talking about cloud technology. Mm-hmm. So within the IT service community, if you're part of an ecosystem, basically you have placed a bet on one or more cloud platforms and you are actually developing services and capabilities around that platform. So the reason that I think the industry has co-opted the word ecosystem is because in a natural ecosystem you have living organisms interacting with the non-living components of their environment, operating together in a system that's sustainable. And in a similar way, the buyers and suppliers in the cloud market have to operate with cloud platforms in order to create a more sustainable future for both of them. Why that's important at the moment is because with cloud delivery, the technology industry is at a different point in terms of working with organisations and buyers, because in the past we were primarily using technology to automate manual processes and paper-based processes, mm-hmm. whereas now we're using technology to do a whole range of different things. And it's not just cloud technology, it's the technology stack that's associated with cloud. So we're talking about social media tools, mobile devices and applications, analytics, big data, unstructured data coming in to inform the decision-making process. And organisations want to take advantage of those technologies and are looking to the poster children of this digital world, companies like Amazon and PayPal, and looking to see how they can adapt their organisations to respond to challenges from these new web-native, web-scale organisations.
Is ecosystem the same thing as a supply chain?
Supply chain tends to infer that it's a sort of linear process, whereas in an ecosystem, you're really working more in a community or team play, if you like. Some of the major cloud platforms in the market today, where I think the ecosystems have developed organically, which seems to me a much more sustainable approach. I know there are some vendors that are trying to kickstart ecosystems around their own technology, but the ones that I would look to and call out would be ones around Amazon, AWS, around Salesforce.com, and around ServiceNow. And each of those players is a cloud native provider. They've come from very different parts of the market, but they've actually grown beyond their starting point quite significantly, and in so doing have established an installed base and an attractiveness to partners to come in and work within their ecosystem to the mutual benefit of all. And for an ecosystem to be successful, it needs to be quite sizable and also have a diversity of offerings within it.
Should we be understanding the G-Cloud as an ecosystem, or is that the wrong way to look at it?
Well, G-Cloud itself is not a platform. What is interesting though is that there's a potential for an ecosystem to develop around G-Cloud using some of the cloud platforms that government buyers are interested in working with. So for example, Skyscape is an obvious candidate that could be at the centre of an ecosystem providing services for government.
Do you think public sector buyers are, without trying to be belittling to them, sophisticated enough to understand the difference between a buying framework, an ecosystem, a marketplace, a digital marketplace? It seems like we're kind of making this quite confusing for people. I don't know.
I think an ecosystem is a way of developing services. I don't think it's necessarily a procurement strategy. So I think those two things are quite distinct and different. I think the advantage you get from joining an ecosystem as a buyer is that you are able to use the technology that's embedded in the cloud platform to ensure things like data sovereignty, data privacy, any regulatory requirements that are supported by the cloud platform. They're there as a base, and then you can build services on top of that if you have your own teams or if you want to work with external service providers within the ecosystem. So you can establish best practice very quickly, you can change services very quickly, and that's very important in the current world. You can also create processes that are very reusable, can be shared amongst the community, which in a government context provides plenty of opportunities to reduce costs, but also to create services that are more applicable to today's society.
Do ecosystems compete?
I guess they do, in the sense that if we're looking at cloud platforms as being the centre of ecosystems, then obviously some buyers will be using more than one cloud platform, service providers will probably be working with more than one cloud platform. So there is a competitive element in that sense. There
is not a danger, going back to where we were kind of before open systems, that I might bet on the wrong ecosystem and get trapped in that ecosystem?
My view is that I think we will have a world where we've got maybe half a dozen major ecosystems in play. So it's not that different really from the previous world where we had certain dominant technology providers, I suppose. But the difference in the cloud environment is the level of virtualization and abstraction that's involved. So I think the chance to be locked in is perhaps reduced by the willingness of the vendors to take part in open source, to make sure their APIs are available and so on.
Based on your experience and focus on the cloud industry, do you have any advice or guidance for public sector customers who perhaps have held back a little bit from the cloud? What is your kind of generic advice to them?
I think G-Cloud provides an opportunity for public sector buyers to explore the potential of cloud with the knowledge, the security, if you like, that they're operating within a community. And this is an important aspect of actually using cloud technology. It's a different way of engaging with technology and with buyers. So there's a safeguard, in a sense, in using G-Cloud in that way. And the community element of ecosystems is actually quite an interesting part of the whole new approach, because whereas traditional vendors have always wanted to dominate a market and be the prime or the lead, this is really operating in a more engaging way where you have to be a team player. And I don't know if you've had the opportunity to attend reInvent or Dreamforce, but it's a very different attitude to developing technology that I think some of the more established vendors may struggle with. So I would say join in the fun, get involved.